3, 2, everyone, let's go!
Good morning, Harrison. This is Mrs. Day. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for the peace pledge. I am a peacemaker. I pledge to recognize the good that people do, to make positive choices, and tell others to do the same. I will build peace at school, at home, and in my community every day. Have a great day.
Good morning, Harrison. As you know, last week was Career Week. And because we had so many presenters, we've got 2 more Career Week videos for you. And I have to tell you, they're both really cool. This news program's a little bit longer maybe than normal, but it's absolutely worth it. So settle in, enjoy, and you'll probably learn something. Bye.
Okay, so today we have Mr. Brian Hemperly, who is going to tell us a little bit about what he does. You'll be interested to know that he actually works with duct tape. Yes, indeed. So let's go ahead and start off. What do you do?
Well, it's kind of loaded. So basically, what I do, my job is very, I would say, broad because I'm in sourcing and supply chain. So basically, our company makes duct tape, which everybody understands what duct tape is. We also supply a lot of other products: shelf liner, bubble wrap, foam, pouches, packing paper, all kinds of different tapes, painter's tape, all kinds of stuff. So what I do, I'm in charge of sourcing the raw materials. So some of the items that we buy come from China. We also have stuff coming domestically. But what I do is manage the supply chain. So bringing in all the materials, managing the suppliers' performance, negotiating pricing, delivery, and making sure that they deliver everything on time, working the cost part of it, any quality issues, and just really managing the relationships, and then working internally with all the different departments throughout our company, which I work with marketing, sales, quality, operations, finance whenever there's a pricing issue, and then obviously our department, which is sourcing, which we have to really manage all the just overall supply chain. So we touch many different areas of the business, and I really get to know everybody within the company. Every day is different. It's never monotonous. Sometimes it can be very frustrating because you might go about your day and you've got a plan to get 5 things done on your list that may take up a half day, but guess what? You get emergencies, you get phone calls, you get people coming up to your desk, you get somebody like your boss coming up to you and saying, hey, we got to go talk about this. So you get pulled in so many different directions, and it's very hard. I mean, for me, I've been doing purchasing, sourcing for 20 some years, and I still have a hard time managing my workload and managing priorities. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell. So I don't know if that really kind of helps. Maybe that's very too much information, but I don't know.
So on that note, Mr. Hemperly, I have a question for you. So would you tell us the current company you work for, and then also maybe describe to us what other company you worked for prior to that might be interesting to some of our students?
So the company I work for right now, all of our products they go into retail. So we supply to Ace, we supply to Walmart. Walmart's our largest customer. Probably about 60 or 70% of our business is with Walmart. And I'm really dealing with a lot of interesting dynamics right now with Walmart due to the COVID-19 crisis. We also supply to Costco, Kroger. Think of any retail that might have anything related to like tape, and even like the Dollar General and Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, CVS, Walgreens, Sam's Club. So those are all the big ones. There's some smaller ones that a lot of people may not have heard of, but they're just small customers. So I'm really in the consumer business, consumer retail, which is very fast paced. I've worked in automotive. I worked for Honda, R&D, research and development in their new cost planning department for about 6.5 years. I've also worked in aerospace, which is a very different environment. It's very slow, very there's just a lot of regulations in aerospace, as you can imagine. It's just not a very it's very slow moving and takes a lot of engineering work. So I've worked in aerospace. I worked for American Airlines, Meggitt Aircraft Braking in Akron. I've worked for Vitamix, which they make the blenders, the very high-end blenders that some people have, not everybody. And I've worked in new product development there, but it's all really tied to supply chain. So a lot of people don't necessarily understand what supply chain is, especially people that are young. But it's really about, if you think of a product, just say let's make it real simple, like a game console, like Xbox. There's a lot of components that go into making that Xbox. And then there's a lot of software that goes into it. It's almost like all the ingredients that go into making a finished product that can ship out the door, even the packaging, the labeling, all that is part of supply chain. So it's all about working with all those little different pieces and making sure you're getting them in, you're getting the right price, and it's good quality, so you can build a finished good, that a finished product that's going to be successful, and somebody that buys it, it's going to work well.
All right, Mr. Hemperly, just a couple further questions and then we'll be done. I want to ask you, so with your current position at SureTech, the duct tape company, have there been any exciting trips that you've been able to take, or interesting places that might be?
Well, I've traveled a little bit, mainly overseas, because I do have a lot of suppliers overseas. I've been to China once, which that was okay. I've been to Hong Kong. That was nice. I've been to Vietnam twice. Vietnam was very interesting. I've been to Thailand. I've been to India. Those are some of the main countries I've been to since I've been there at SureTech. I've traveled domestically to North Carolina, Chicago. So I've had some travel, and it's interesting, but it's also very tiring. But the nice thing about it is you get out there, you get to meet different people, you get to try different food, you see different places, and just experience life outside of an office, and learning new things, and really, for me, I get to visit these factories, these suppliers that make products, and I get to gain a better understanding of their manufacturing process, and really get to know the people that I've been talking to for over the years via, Skype or just over on conference calls. So when I get to see somebody in person that I've been talking to for a couple of years, it really helps strengthen the relationship, and really makes it easier to talk to them, and you have a little bit more comfort level.
Wonderful. So final question. I was wondering if you were in the shoes of our students at Harrison, which we have pre-K all the way through 5th grade, and especially our older students, if you were in their shoes, is there any pearl of wisdom that you might want to share with them, or anything that you would say that you, if you had a chance to do it over, would you do something differently?
I wouldn't say I would do anything differently because I'm not regretting the path that I've taken in my life. I mean, I think you got to go with your strengths and what you feel you're good at and what you enjoy and what you're passionate about. I think I look back and think, okay, yeah, I could have gone into say medical or dentistry or teaching, but some of those were not really. They didn't fit my skill set. I mean, I looked at what I did well with in school, which was math. Um, just and that really led me to a business career, and I've learned a lot of things, and also working with people. I think regardless of whatever field you're in, you're going to have to work with people externally, outside of the company, customers, internally with your coworkers, different departments, and there's going to be a lot of challenges. It's about being able to communicate and work well with those people, but really focus on what you feel you do best at, and sticking to that because a lot of people, and I know some people that have gone down a path of going into a certain industry or a certain field, whether it's education or hospitality or I don't know, marketing, and then guess what? They are social. What do you call it? A social worker. I know somebody that was a social worker that's what they did. That's what they studied in college, and that's what they thought they would be good at, which they're good at, but there wasn't a lot of opportunity once they got out of college, which brought them they got into customer service at a credit card company. And then that went in, and just eventually got into something else, which was HR, human resources, and recruiting. And recruiting people. So that's a lot of people skills. Every job you have is going to require people skills. Even if you're a programmer, if you're into computers and you're really good at tech, you're going to have to work with people. So those are the things. I mean, you never know what you're going to get yourself into. I mean, it could lead you down a different path than what you initially thought. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Hemperly. And for our students and Harrison families, we will have also additional links of some fun ways that you can use duct tape, which I found very fascinating, especially while we are sheltering in place over the next few days. Thank you so much.
bye.
I can't see squat. Turn on your windshield wipers.
No.
Look out your window. Look out your window. Eric, you got eyes on Mosley?
Still looking. Guys, I think your car's on fire.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
There they are.
Okay.
Hey guys, Joe Wilson here from Los Angeles, California, but I'm actually from East Cleveland, Ohio. I'm a writer and an executive producer in the television industry. I've worked on such shows like NCIS Los Angeles and Showtime's The Chi, Queen of the South, JAG, and a ton of other stuff. So I'm a writer first. And that means I'm in charge of writing the scripts. So when you watch a television show, all the words you see, all the dialogue, all the action, everything those characters do, and all those scenarios and those stories, we create that. Then as a producer, a studio and network gives us a budget, and a show like NCIS costs about $3.5 million to do every episode. So it's a lot of money. It's very important. So they're trusting me to take that script that I wrote and make that whole thing happen. That little clip you saw at the beginning of this video is just a sample. What did I do before this? Well, I went to school for engineering, and I worked in manufacturing engineering for a number of years. And it just turned out that it wasn't the job for me, so I thought what really made me happy. And I started writing again. I've been a writer since I was in the second grade. Young authors programs, I was a voracious reader, loved to read, anything I could get my hands on, novels, comic books, short stories, anything. But I just never thought I can do that as a career. And once I started doing the research, I said, you know what? Television and movies are being made. Why can't I do that? So packed up my Honda Accord, drove out to California. Here I am. What kind of things do I do at my job? Well, there's several layers to that. So for the writing phase, we sit there and we play make-believe all day. So we come up with a story arc for a character that we want to take throughout a season. And then, say for a show like NCIS, there's 24 episodes in a season. We have to come up with storylines for every one of those episodes. So there are a bunch of characters in every episode, and we have to think of the storylines and plot points and the drama that we want to create that we're going to spread over that hour of programming. So we sit there and play with make-believe every day. Like, what if this character does this? Or what if this character learns how to fly? Or what if this character turned invisible every time they started singing? So there are no bad ideas, depending on whatever show or movie you're writing. You know, so we literally get to use our imaginations all day and just think of the wildest stuff and coolest things that you ever wanted to do. We get to do that. And we get to, put it in the script, and we'll pass it off. But me as a producer, I have to go shoot that script now. So now we're on location. So we're taking that script, and the actors are learning the words, and the director's putting it all in frame. And there's a whole team of people, but you have to produce that thing. So you have to go through all your prep meetings, wardrobe, locations, set decoration, wire, grip. There's a huge budget that they give you, and all of that money is divided up between all these departments to make that one script that you wrote happen. Do you have to go to school after high school to work in television? Well, no, but you should. Television and film is a very competitive business. There's a lot of people trying to do it. You need to do any and everything you can to get a leg up on the next person. So as I said earlier, I went to school for engineering, and I just switched gears and said I wanted to become a writer because it's something I love to do. Well, I came out here and I worked my way up through the business, and I made it. But I would have had an easier path if I had gone to college for what I'm doing right now. So do you have to do it? No, but I recommend doing it. You'll have an easier path. What kind of subjects did I like to study in school? I was a big math guy, and probably why I went into engineering. But how that relates to what I do today is I get to do a lot of problem solving when we're on set, when we're shooting and the cameras aren't working and that scene's just not working, or we're running out of daylight to shoot. You got to solve problems on the fly, and I think math, just helps you, do the critical thinking and come up with the logic you need to solve those problems. So math was a big help in what I do. So what kind of subjects were important for you to know in order to be able to do your job? Well, it's so funny. I know I said I loved math, but English and creative writing helped a ton. So you just have to let go, and you're working a different part of your brain, and you got to get those creative juices flowing. And creative writing in English and studying drama, studying the structure of writing helps what I do. And for the producing side, my engineering background helps because it's problem solving. It's how do you create? How do you build? How do you build sets? How do you build a world? How do you deconstruct a script? Do I like my job? No, I do not like my job. I love my job. is probably one of the greatest gigs you can have on the planet. You're doing something different every week. You're flexing those creative muscles. You get paid a lot of money, which is always a plus. But we're having fun. Every day is fun. I'm not saying it's not hard, but you enjoy the struggle. You enjoy the hard stuff that you have to deal with. You're working with a great group of people. You're out there and you're creating. And there's nothing more gratifying or fun than creating something. Did I always know what I wanted to do? If not, how did I start? No, I did not always know I wanted to be a writer and executive producer. Like I said, I went to school for engineering, and just coming from Cleveland and growing up where I grew up, I just didn't know that was a career you could do. They don't tell you that. And so once I got into the real workforce and I didn't love what I was doing, I knew it was important for me to find out what I loved. And I always loved to write. Again, I was a big reader, comic books and just fun stuff. And I watched television all the time. I watched movies all the time. Wheels got to spinning. Why can't I do that? And so I did some research and I took some time and started writing again. I said, you know what? I bet on myself and I'm going for it. And here we are. How did I get to where I am? And was my path typical or not typical? My path was definitely not typical. I worked my way up through the assistant ranks. I just kept writing. I kept networking, put a script that I had written in the right producer's hands, and he became a mentor. And that mentor kind of showed me the business. I went through what was called the Writers Trainee Program at the Writers Guild, and they treated me like a writer. They didn't pay me like one, but I got to learn the ropes, and I got to see how the job was being done. And there's no substitute for real work experience. And so the more reps that I got, the more experience that I got, and I was able to do the job. And then when preparation meets opportunity, it happened for me. So I pitched a freelance episode for a show called Jag. It went very well, and that just kind of gave me my start. So, but going back to the question of should you go to school for this, you go to school, you learn everything that you need to learn that I learned on that rise through the assistant ranks. And you also have an alumni association that you could lean on. So when you move to the city, you've got people you can call. I didn't have those people. I had to network to find those people. So I got to where I am just by pure hustle. What might I do differently if I started over? I would have definitely started a lot earlier than I did. I would have been able to identify this is what I want to do, and I could have put more energy into that from the beginning instead of sometimes you have to find yourself, you kind of meander, but if I could do it differently, I would have locked down and targeted this job from an early age and put all my energy into that. And then I would have gone to college for it instead of having to work my way up through the ranks. Go to college. What do I enjoy most about what I do? I love creating worlds. I love writing. I love putting something on the page and the feeling you get when you're done. The process of writing can be a little painful and it's tiring, but a lot of jobs are. But it's gratifying to see that end result, to see what you created on the page and people respond to it, and you make people happy, you make people cry, you make people laugh. There's no better feeling than that. I also enjoy the production side of it. I love being in the field or out in the city shooting. We do these huge action sequences. We get to blow cars up. We get to have car chases. We get to throw people off buildings, and it's just fun. You're doing something different, and it never gets old. It's one of the most gratifying things you can do. And to have created something, and you have over 300 people coming together to make that thing that you wrote come together, it's a really good feeling, and you feel really accomplished, and you feel proud of your work. What do I enjoy least about what I do? Sometimes the hours can get to you. You're spending a lot of time writing those scripts and editing those scripts and proofing those scripts, and it can get tedious sometimes. And you know, a lot of writers tend to be perfectionists, and you get in your own head and you just don't know where you are sometimes. So sometimes it's the time that it takes to do it, but that's why it helps to love what you do, because if you love it, it won't feel like it's taking the time that it takes, if that makes sense. You don't mind putting in that time. What's a typical work day like? We'll talk about production. So when you're shooting an episode of a TV show, you're getting up extremely early. Probably have to be on set by 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. Still dark outside. Everybody's dragging in. And you're going to be shooting that show. You're going to be shooting the actors and the action scenes and the dialogue all day long. It's probably about a 15-hour day. Sometimes it can go longer. Sometimes it can be shorter. But you're working with your friends. So you come in, you check in, and you do a run through. You make sure the scene is set properly. All the props and everything are in the proper place. Then you do a rehearsal with your actors. Once the actors come in, they rehearse the lines. They have any questions, you answer all the questions. You got to keep them on point. And then the director comes in and he sets the cameras where he wants, the way he wants to capture that scene. And you go through those pages for that day and you shoot all that dialogue. And for every scene, it's a new setup. Then you have to shoot every actor's lines and from multiple angles and distances. So for an hour episode of television, which is normally, if it's broadcast, it's about 42 minutes because you have commercials. Those 42 minutes takes 8 days to shoot. There's that much material that you've got to go into. So we'll shoot all day on stages or out in the city, or depending on what part of the process we're in, I'll be in an editing bay and I'm taking that 8 days of footage and I'm boiling it down to the shows that you see on television. What's the projected job market? I don't know what the actual numbers are, but as long as there's television, as long as there's movies, you guys, I'm sure, are watching shows at home, there's always going to be a need for writers. There's always going to be a need for content creators. I mean, you got Netflix, you got Disney Plus, you have Hulu, you have network television. All of those shows that you see, all of those shows have writers. And so as long as people are consuming entertainment, there's going to be a need for content creators like yourselves. What's my work environment like? Well, on the writer's side, when sometimes I'm at home writing from my office by myself, solo, and it's really quiet then. But most television shows have what's called a writer's room. So it's about you and 8 other writers, and you're sitting around and you're discussing your show and the characters and the storylines that you want to tell with them. So imagine sitting around with 8 of your good friends and you're getting paid to just play make-believe. What if this character does this? Or what if that character does this? And it's fun, and you lean into it, and you guys create this beautiful world together, and it's a lot of fun. Now, when you're in production, which means when you're shooting the show, it's intense because you have 300 people mobilizing and everything's on a schedule. So you're part of management in a sense where you have to make sure everything stays on the tracks. You got to make sure everything stays on schedule. So it can be a little stressful, but when you have a well-oiled machine and everybody's on the same page, it can be a lot of fun because you're doing something amazing. You see all these moving parts coming together, and it's just exciting. So that's it. Again, Joe Wilson. I'm a writer and an executive producer in the television and film business. I wish I was there to talk to you guys personally and answer questions and really dive into what we do. But if I can do it, you can do it. Good luck.
To everyone, let's go.